Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. So, if you want to learn how to lower your resting heart rate, lower your blood pressure while improving your pump at the gym, just like yours truly did, stick around. We'll talk about that later in today's episode, or just go ahead, scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or simply head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, and you can check out all the amazing benefits of Cardio Miracle yourself. And also, you'll know you're in the right spot because you're going to see a little notice on the top of your screen saying you're shopping with Brian Nichols, and you'll get 15% off your order at checkout. One more time, cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. All right, we are going to talk today about small and medium businesses, because believe it or not, the small and medium business out there is actually a majority of American businesses. And I work with them every single day. For folks who are unaware, for my day job, I work in the telecommunications, unified communication space, and I'm working with these small and medium-sized organizations from 5 employees up to 500, sometimes up to 1,000 or so employees. You have the Fortune 500, right? We call this the Forgotten 5,000. And with that being said, the Forgotten 5,000 is not only forgotten when it comes to different technologies or business solutions out there, but they're also forgotten when it comes to actually building up sales processes. And as I'm going through and I'm working with small and medium businesses, helping improve their customer experience, which is part of the day job, that's something I also see is, hey, your sales motion, that's part of your customer experience. Oh, you don't really have a sales motion? Oh, you have a couple of guys who they know some folks and they do some phone calls. Yeah, we need to talk about that. So let's bring in an expert, bring in a consultant. And joining us today here on the show is Bob Phibbs. Bob, you're apparently an expert. You're a whiz in this space. Give me a little bit more of the details here. But first, introduce yourself to the Brian Nichols Show audience, if you'd be so kind.
If I'd been prepared, I would have had a QR code over my shoulder, but I'm not. See, it's all about sales, my friend. What do you want to know about the retail doc?
Well, give us the overview. Who is the retail doc? Who is Bob Phibbs? Which you said Phibbs like the lie. So fill me in.
It's great in sales, by the way, just so you know. Yeah. Well, I have so many stories to tell you. I just don't know where to start. So I will tell you that as far as my brand goes, I had been working, put myself through college selling shoes, and I quit. That's a whole nother story. And after 14 years, I was working in cowboy clothes. That's another story. And the company CEO said, 100 of us are in the room. What's the company's greatest asset? And I said, it's employees. And he goes, wrong. I'm like, wrong? What? And goes around the room. Nobody gets it. And he goes, it's customers. I was like, oh, and everyone's like, oh, yes.
The folks who pay the bills.
I went down to his office. I was like, we built this company based on employees. Customers can go wherever they want. Like, it's about the employees. Like, it's always been about the employees. And something's changed. I'm out here in 2 weeks. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks today, I am out. Had paid Kathy Matea's walking away a winner. Walked out that door at 5 p.m. Never looked back. Last one. And so I licked my wounds for a little bit. And I went through and I went to a Tony Robbins seminar at the Universal Amphitheater in LA. In those days, he only did a 1 day. That's all he did. And I walked away from that. And he said, you better come up with a brand. Nobody else is better than you. And I said, okay. And I filed the trademark for the retail doc. I didn't know really what that was going to be, but I knew that was going to be my brand. And took me a few months to find my space. And we can talk about that later. But that's how the retail doc got started. And more importantly, that's really what has been my north light all the way through, which is helping brick and mortar retailers compete in a very small space with their people. If you are concerned about growing sales in a retail store, I'm your guy. If you want to use it through your people in a retail store, I'm your guy. You want me to tell you that AI is going to take over the world? I'm not your guy. You want me to tell you it's all about price and promotion? Yeah, I'm not your guy. So if you're just listening and you're an entrepreneur, the idea that, everyone's our customer is like, no, they're not. You learn who your customer is and isn't, and then you can over deliver. But I think if you're trying to do, I'm jack of all trades, it's really hard to develop traction on that. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. The riches are in the niches. Folks who have been playing along in the home game and listening to the show for a while, they're familiar with my history. I was an outbound sales leader, and I do go to market teams and such like. And in that world, right, I used to have this one guy named David, and David became a wizard at cold calls because David would start to focus on these specific verticals where it was like he was speaking a different language, right? So, for example, if you're calling into credit unions and you start talking about their customers, they're going to be like, get off the phone, bozo, because we don't have customers. We have members, right? And we don't have a CRM. We have a core banking software, right? So it's all these little nuances that as you get familiar with a specific niche, you're going to be able to start to talk about things that no other salesperson's talking about. But I guess I'm curious, Bob, are you approaching this more from a one-to-one perspective, or is this more one-to-many leveraging the tools of marketing?
I need a little clarification on this. You mean like me working in a store one-to-one, or?
So let's say, for example, you're talking to a customer. Are they going out? Are they like having a sales team, or is this going to be like, how do I get, I guess, more of a B2C type of environment?
So for me, I have clients. They'll hire me to either do keynote speeches or to do in-person. I used to do a lot of in-person training, but now it's a learning manager. They'll hire me, maybe do a kickoff, and then my online training takes on from there. But it's all about how do I get a Dave in a retail store to be able to open his heart and be comfortable with that game of retail. You know, that's what a lot of people miss. Okay. The game of retail. If I'm selling shirts, right? I'm selling men's clothing. Your goal is to get me half naked in a fitting room, because if you do that, you did the job, which was to make me trust you enough to go in there. And now you start throwing over other things, or I'm willing to trust you, right? Your goal, if you're selling footwear, your goal is to see my sock. You see my sock, like, you have me. But they're playing the wrong game. It's like, these are on sale for 20% off. I had a guy, I couldn't believe it. I was in New York. And I said, yeah, do you have this at an 8? And the kid comes back, we have an 11. Do you want to try it? And I was just like, what the hell game are you playing? Like, yes, let me try on a shoe for a clown. I'm sure that'll be perfect. But we aren't training them. And so nobody wants to do a bad job, Brian. They just don't have any software to drive them. So without it, it is either going to be the wild, wild west, right? Hey, come over here. I'll give you an extra 20% off if you buy from me, right? Or it's the invisible zone where, yeah, I'm busy. Can you help that guy you want? And I think retail has been kicked around an awful lot. We've had all kinds of surveys saying, oh, everyone's shopping online and no one wants to go to a store. Well, actually, 80% still want to go in a brick and mortar store. And Gen Z is the ones leading the trend back to the malls. So if we just start off with, so what are we missing? It comes down to the human connection. And we have raised a bunch of people with saying it's okay to stay in your room and communicate by text. Then get your butt out there at 17. I don't care. Don't come back till 10. Go figure something else out. But we've so allowed this cocooning to happen that now you hire someone and you've got to take them from that cocooning to the real world, right? Isn't that kind of it, Brian?
100%. And I would go back to my original question with the, is it one-to-one, one-to-many? I guess it really is both, right? Because to the point that you get them to show their sock, right? If they're buying shoes, you hopefully have had some type of one-to-one interaction with a salesperson in that retail environment where they're talking to the customer. But I guess the first part that we didn't even talk about is getting the person in the store to begin with, right? Oh. And I guess that goes to the one-to-many. So have you found that there are particular narratives or messaging or communication tactics or what have you that are specifically more advantageous to retail types of environments to go to that one-to-many message and to start bringing people in? All right, it's the holidays, which means we're all doing that annual dance, pretending that we love this time of year, while secretly we're running on stress, sugar, and whatever's left of our sanity. You've got the office parties, the family gatherings, the flights, the long lines, the weird cookie that Aunt Carol made, and on top of that, the weather's colder, you're eating heavier, you're sleeping less, and your immune system is basically sending you texts saying like, hey buddy, I'm not okay. And let's be real, December has a way of exposing everything your body has already been struggling with. Low energy, amplified. Brain fog, doubled. Circulation, frozen like your car windshield. And don't even get me started on inflammation after you've had your 5th helping of just a little more at dinner. See, that's where Cardio Miracle comes in. It gives your body that one thing the holidays steal the most, nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is actually what helps the blood flow. It helps oxygen reach your cells, support your immune system, and helps your body bounce back from the stress, the sugar, the travel, the cold weather, all of it. And I've been drinking it every day, morning and night, because I don't have time to crash halfway through the month. And Cardio Miracle keeps me steady, clear-headed, energized, and able to actually enjoy the holidays instead of just survive them. So if you want to give yourself the gift of not feeling like you're worn out at Christmas, just go ahead and scan the QR code over my shoulder, click that little link in the show notes, or visit cardiomiracle.com/TBNS to grab yours. And by the way, you'll get 15% off at checkout. And now, let's get back to the show.
The best thing you can do is have an exceptional experience, because if you get that, I'll get on your list, you'll tell your friends, etc. But that's true of any business. You know, I'm always shocked when I work with pool dealers, and they're like, "Oh, what can we use for marketing and this and this?" And I was like, "The best marketing you can do is get a caterer and cater a $500 opening the pool party for someone, and have them invite their friends, because people who have money, who own pools, tend to know other people that have money. That's a lot of time and money." It's like, I know. And what you want to do is just write a check for $1,000 to the local paper and say, well, we took out an ad. And it's like, yeah, I think the whole idea is you really have to understand your customer. And there's a lot of ways to reach them, right? So, I mean, like if I have a luxury, I don't know, I sell luxury women's handbags. Maybe I'm going to do an event with the local Mercedes-Benz dealer. And I'm going to figure some way out that we could do something really cool, because generally people who have money are going to be in those same 2 buckets. So I just have to figure, how do I connect them in such a way that'd be interesting? So events are always popular, but I think more often than not, what we see is people going after people who have no interest, and just as wide a gun as you can use, wide a net, whatever metaphor you want to use. And we forget that, no, the most important thing is you have to hold on to me, because after I had a good experience with you, 2 months later, I've kind of forgotten. 3 months later, 6 months later, I don't even need pencils, let's say, until the day I do. And then it's kind of like, what was that place? And somebody else, AI's been listening to my phone. I'll probably get an ad for pencils when I get off of this podcast. And it'll suddenly pop up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I should get them from Amazon. And in that moment, you lost, but you didn't hold on to me. So I think that's the two sides of it is, yes, because it is so personality driven, it is a matter of one-to-one, that spending all of your time to get more and more people in is not good, because you can get an awful lot of people in. They have a horrible experience. You trash your neighborhood. You see this with restaurants all the time, 2 for $1, and they have like 2 for $1 pizza, and you go and you try it and you're like, this is crap. I don't care what it tastes. But they think it's all about volume, and rarely is anything about volume unless you're, Amazon. Does that all make sense?
It's funny. I have another podcast I do called CX Without the BS, and CX is shorthand for customer experience. And this is more or less a parallel conversation to that, because and we talk about this a lot in my day job, is if you're not creating avenues for a positive customer experience, right, you're creating potential for detractors. And you go on to any Google page, right? It's the 1-star reviews that are usually the most vocal, because they're the ones who had the negative experience. It's not somebody who has, an okay experience. I can go and give you a 4-star review. I mean, you might get a 4-star review, but I can guarantee it's going to be a lot more 1s and 5s than a lot of that 2, 3s, and 4s, right? So I guess, with that in mind, if you're not paying attention to the customer experience and you just kind of have this, and I almost call it like chasing a number, it's this death by KPI, where there's no context to a KPI. So to your point, right? Like it's the CC's Pizza comparison of pizza. Like, yes, you can call it pizza. Is it actually pizza? I guess it's food, but is it pizza? By name only, right? But they're like, hey, you can go to a buffet and get 40 different types of pizza. And it's like, okay, great. But I went once, I had an experience of getting possibly 40 pizzas and also like a really bad evening in the bathroom. So I'm not going to go back. It's I'm good. So they've lost a customer, and they've lost someone because I didn't have a good experience, not just from the customer experience, but in this case, it's the actual quality of the service, or in this case, the product that I'm eating.
Well, that's a great point. And I just did a keynote in China, brag, a couple weeks ago in Shanghai, and it was great. But the point that I talked about is how many sales that should have been yours walked out your front doors empty-handed to a competitor.
Yep.
And did your crew care that happened? Because that's what doesn't show up on a profit and loss statement. It shows up when you notice the number of bags walking out of the store. And when that suddenly hits and you're like, wow, we had 100 people walk in here and industry average is about 13%. It's low, right? But if it's down in like the 7s and 8s, you have two choices. It's the economy, Bob. This economy, everybody's pulling back. Oh, right. Everybody's pulling back. Why doesn't that sound right? Or it's going to go to the other side, which is, well, we're launching a new marketing campaign. And you're like, yeah, there's a third alternative here, kids. Like, we suck at selling our merchandise. And what's happened is we've made our stores into a website, basically, where we're expecting the customers just to walk in and go, buy now. And that's never worked. And, I got the highest increase of sales, South Coast Plaza, #1 mall in the world. And when the owner came down to give me the award, he said, hey, what the hell are you doing down here? You're beating the pants off of Nordstrom and Tiffany's and everybody else, and you're selling cowboy clothes. And I said, it doesn't matter what I sell. It matters how I sell. Oh. And those all sound like, I got them off of AI, but it's true because it's really that simple. I think guys like us always are going to have a sales ability to talk about sales because it's never ending topic. If you really understand it, all you can talk about is one sale, right? That one sale. So a quick story that I tell. Can I tell you a quick story?
Of course you can tell me a quick story, Bob.
I teach this whole process of how we communicate with, you're still there, right?
Oh yeah, I'm letting you tell your story.
Oh, good, because suddenly I lost you. So how we communicate with people is how we have to build rapport to earn the right to sell the merchandise. So week before Christmas, cowboy clothes, South Coast Plaza, and I'm turning the key to open this giant gate and really beautiful store. And there's a guy waiting all the way on the other end, and he's in a nice goatskin jacket. And if you sell clothes, you know what leathers look like. And goatskin looks like plastic at first, gets older, gets these little cool wrinkles. It's amazing. And so I was like, aha, I know what I'm going to talk to this guy about. So I go to open and I go, good morning. Feel free to look around. While I get the lights on, I'll be right back. It goes, great. And I come out and he's looking at a pair of Tony Lama 5084. I don't know why I remember this after 40 years, but I do. And about $150. And he's looking at the boots and I just go, that's a nice goatskin jacket you got on. Was that a gift or did you buy it for yourself? And I said, he said, I bought it for myself. I said, it's always nice to treat yourself. I just hit goal, true story. 10 years in a row, I bought this Scully blade. I still had it on. I bought this Scully jacket yesterday. What are you celebrating? And he said, well, the book that I wrote just got optioned for a movie. Have you ever heard of The Hunt for Red October? My name is Tom Clancy. It's like, okay.
I'm familiar.
And he bought a $1,000 pair of ostrich boots from me.
Wow.
He paid cash. Do you think I would have had any idea this guy was standing in front of me? No. And he came back several times. He was pretty big in the 80s. He came back several times to celebrate because I was his store. So that little moment that I said, I got to get this guy, I've got to find a way in, is applicable in that store. Now, yes, I can say, well, this also shows up other places, but each sale is individual. And so, yeah, it's nice to have celebrities, and there's other times it goes seriously wrong with Chris Christopherson and other people. But in that moment, we try to connect those dots. And I think that's what makes people who've been in sales a while valuable, because they see the patterns. It's like, oh, I see what I didn't do there. They aren't trying to nitpick. They understand, yeah, I was in too much of a hurry. I didn't listen to her. I didn't do this, instead of blaming the customer.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's the difference, right?
Your timing mentioning pattern recognition is actually right on cue, because we just had last week He's a businessman, Todd Hagopian, and he suffers from bipolar disorder. And he just wrote a book about how in the world of business, neurodivergence can actually become a super weapon. And in the neurodivergent space, pattern recognition is predominantly one of those areas where folks with bipolar disorder or ADHD, they tend to have more success because they can see those patterns more easily and more effectively. So it's funny you say that, because I've had undiagnosed ADHD for years, and I always had this knack for sales because, to your point, I kind of noticed I was noticing patterns, but I never put that into words. So then when I realized all that, and then I hear you say it, it's like, yep, there it all is. That's the bow coming together.
That's it. I'm a conductor. I interviewed John Robeson with Robeson Motors. He's the #1 Rolls-Royce service shop in probably the United States, and he is ADHD. And one of his New York Times best-selling books is called "Look Me in the Eye." That's what they told him when he was a kid. It's the worst thing you say to someone who's like that, because they don't want to look you in the eye. And he said, we gave up on this whole group of people and said, you're other, you're nothing. And he said, and yet the people in Manhattan Project, yeah, on the spectrum. He said, the way I see in pictures is like conductors. I said, well, I'm a conductor. And he goes, oh, well, you listen to music different. I said, I do? He goes, yep. Yeah, that's why you're a conductor. And so I love the idea that we are talking about neurodivergent, because all of them are necessary, and that crap that we were told about people different than us, and there are good and bad people, and you realize we just gave up on so much learning out there. Yep. And so much compassion, and more importantly, we could be so much farther along and go like, oh, that's your gift, that's not my gift, but great, how do I learn that? To your point.
And I think the other part too is it's like not taking things that we don't necessarily view as gifts immediately and just being like, bad, go into your closet, don't come out. Like that's not a sexual reference. That's like a true thing, right? Like we're not talking about that closet. But like in general, when you're going through and you're trying to almost hide what your superpower is because you feel uncomfortable, right? I have found that when I know somebody else kind of has that hidden superpower, I don't want it in the closet. I want it full out there. I want them to leverage that, because that is what makes them unique. That's what makes them special. Like, don't hide that. Bring that forward. Leverage that in your every single day life wherever you can. And there's going to be areas where you're not strong. And I guess that's the other part, is having that awareness of, this is where I'm good. This is my superpower, but also I understand that with this power comes great responsibility. And that is, I'm not good in these other areas. I'm not good at keeping organization. Thank God my wife is, right? But that's an area where I've always struggled. And to know though that it's okay. Don't try to necessarily get really good at something I'm not. Outsource where I can to areas and others that they can do better than I'm going to be able to do.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. And that's, I think, the key to all of it, which is you're always trying to get better. No matter what your skill sets or whatever, you're always trying to think of what could I be doing differently, better. And I think that's the difference with salespeople, that we look at cause and effect, then we try to infer what happened, but we never really know. I mean, even if you were interviews, if I was to have you in my store, let's say, and you didn't buy, and somebody walked outside and said, so tell me, why didn't you buy? And you're like, oh, the price was too high or something. It's like, was that the real reason? Like, they don't really know. Even when you ask people in surveys, like, I would never have a guy who wore a floral shirt wait on me in Nordstrom. And then they're in the store and they're working with a guy in floral shirts, and like, do you know the shirt? No. So I think we're always trying to find we infer those reasons are, both for the customer and salespeople. But that's the game, is you're at least trying to do that, instead of just saying, nope, all their fault, they're all losers, I'm wonderful. Like, that's how you get out of relationships quick. That's how you get out of learning. That's how you get fired pretty quick, because you got to learn in life. It's about making somebody else's day before they're going to make yours, right?
Preach. Now, Bob, I know we're getting short on time here, but I do want to go back to one thing you brought up earlier, and that is really, you said laser focusing, right? Like finding that specific type of buyer. We call this in the business world our ICP, our ideal customer persona, right? I have my model of finding who that is, and I call it building your gym. And that is like imagine Jim just walked into your store. He is the perfect customer. What does Jim think? What does Jim look like? What does Jim do for work? Like all those kind of demographics, psychographics, all those kind of things. Who is Jim? That's how whenever I would work with businesses, we would map out who their ideal customer personas were. But what have you found to be the most effective way to figure out who that hyper specific niche group of target customer should be?
Well, that's actually easy. People who've given me money in the past, I try to find more of them like that. That's my first. But, as you're saying that, all I keep thinking about is you sound like you're doing the homework as an actor and actress, because that's what they have to do, is understand who this person is. And then once you understand
by the way, that's where it came from, because I used to do theater back in the day, and that's exactly what I would do. So
yeah, but it is the right way, because invariably I'll do a business consultation and I'll say, so tell me your customers. Like, our customers, everyone, they're young, they're old, they're men, they're gay, straight, old, young, tall, short, black, brown, you name it. They're like, no, they aren't. Look in your parking lot. They're Volvos and they're Audis. They are not everyone, dude. Like, really? And once you open their eyes to it, it's like, oh, and yet you're marketing to them like they're Volvos and Pintos. Like, it's not that customer. So I think a lot of times that reality check of who's giving you money, and again, in retail, I think it's the easiest thing is look at your parking lot. It was interesting when this might be a sidebar, but I don't think so. So I was sharing a plane ride with a guy. He was the lead man for the real estate for McDonald's. And I said, so what's the secret to getting a great location? He goes, oh, it's not a secret. It's pretty easy. I go, what's that? He goes, I drive around the neighborhood on trash day. I'm like, and do you want to finish that thought? And he says, I want to see how many homes there are actually people living there. Because if they aren't, they're probably not going to be a full neighborhood for us. Like, wow. So he's looking at behavior from a different way as well, but it's still trying to figure that out. So for me, I built my whole brand that I wanted to be the brand that people came to for the solution, right? So it fit in really well for SEO. And I got to tell you, I was gratified today. One of my number one sales RX, my online retail sales training clients, she just sent me a text like, I don't know, a half hour ago. And she said, you won't believe what just showed up when I asked AI about my 2026 marketing program. And she showed me the screenshot, and you should be speaking to Bob Phibbs, the retail doctor, number one in retail sales and marketing. I'm like, and it just went on. Like, he talked about this is what you're looking for. This is the guy and the guy. I should send her a bill and say, like, so how much are you going to pay me for this?
Yeah, no kid. Well, that's a cool thing though, getting into the AIs.
But it's still that idea of being that resource. No matter what you're selling, you want to be that resource that people come to and say, like, can you help me figure this out? Even if you may not be the guy or gal, that trust level is that he's not going to steer me wrong. She's not going to steer me wrong. That's really all you have in a business, I think.
Yeah. No, and I do really quick want to go back to the line you said about like looking in your parking lot. I remember this being posted and I had to quickly find it, but here, let me share this screen. I saw this when Lamborghini said, we don't do commercials because our target audience isn't sitting around watching TV. That hit me, right? I remember reading that and it struck me funny because that is exactly it. Like, stop chasing who you think your customer is and start looking at who your actual customer is. Not to make this political, but I've worked with some political organizations in the past, and I hear this quite a bit where they have, I call it when I'm working with political organizations, their IVP, their ideal voter persona. And I'll hear them, they'll articulate like, I see my voter persona being like this, hoity-toity person with thick rim glasses in New York City, drinking like their $32 latte, in a Starbucks. And like, this is who they think it is. And then I'm like, your actual voter is like Bill, the cable guy. Like, that's who it is. And when you see that and you kind of see like oh no, that's not who I want to vote for me. It's like, no, that's who is though. And you have to address that. That's who your actual voter is that you need to be talking to. But I mean, going full, go ahead.
And something you're saying is resonating with those people. So isn't that great?
Right.
Because for whatever weird interpretation you have, you've got your ego wrapped up in this. instead of in the reality, because that's a very good point. Sometimes we think we know what our customers are and are like, and it can be a bit of a chainsaw to your ego, but you just start from there and go, thank gosh I have that information. Isn't that nice? Right or wrong?
Like I started my show being much more political in nature. And then as I started to look at the numbers, I was having lots of entrepreneurs and business folks in my audience, and they were asking a lot more business oriented questions. So that's why we ended up changing the show much more focused on taking some of the business tools and then the strategies and the approaches we see work in that space and bring it to the world of politics, and then to say, how do we help solve the problems we see through the political process or even outside the political process by building solutions in the free market and in the private sector that help answer the call, right? They help solve those problems by just inherently being a solution that was built by somebody who said, hey, I think we could do X better. And then they work with the team to help promote that. It's funny. I'm actually listening to the audiobook of Steve Jobs's biography. And that's kind of the manifestation of the Apple computer, right? And the Macintosh. And I think it was called, oh goodness, it was named after his daughter. It was like Lucy, I think was the other name of the computer. But like, that was the idea. It was every single time was saying, this could be done better. Let's try to do X. And that's where Apple turned into the Apple that we all know and love for the most part today. But anyways, Bob, I looked at the time. I know we're already getting hard pressed for time. So I would be remiss if I did not give you the final words. So here's what I'd love, just, selfishly, is if you could give, any small business owners out there who are listening today, just kind of a quick 30-second elevator pitch. Like, hey, here's what I would say to do just today, right? Kind of like a temperature check. And if you see this, give me the retail doc a call.
Oh my gosh. Well, I would start off with your political background there. I would say the way to success is we're more alike than different. And I don't give a crap what side you're on. We got to get over this. And it starts in the small conversations on the sales floor. Unless you're willing to open your heart to another human being, you're going to be in trouble. And we're going to be in trouble as a country if we don't solve this. And retail is a great way to bring people together. I would say if you're noticing that your KPIs are down, the number of items going out the average sale, if your average sale is going down, I would say if you are freaked out about the economy and you're getting on your chat bots and talking to people in your industry and say how it sucks for you, become the Lamborghini and stop listening to it, because there's that trite little comment, oh, there's a recession, we decide we're not going to participate in it. No, it's not like that. It's much harder. It's like get your butt up at 5 o'clock and go to the gym and meditate and get your head every day in a better place than picking up the news and who's outraged me more. Because we used to say sex sells, but it's rage that sells more now. And the problem is you bring all that baggage into your business. It makes it really hard to say we're just alike. So that's my thing, is mindset is going to be the determining factor of how well you succeed in life. Because either, the thing that we forget when we were in high school, she could have said yes and she could have said no, but we made these judgments of what right and wrong was going to happen. We thought we were omniscient. That never was true. You never know what the best thing that could happen for you unless you start planning for it. So that's my point, is get your head in the right game, and every day just try to do something better. But never forget, the customer is the one who ultimately decides how relevant you are. And if you fail with one, the good news is you got another one to start with.
There you go.
And you should go to retaildoc.com, retaildoc.com, and check me out. Check out my blog. Check out my 2 podcasts. Tell me something great about retail. And you can follow me on LinkedIn with my 400,000 other followers. And hopefully you'll find something there to keep you going and to kick you in the butt, because too many people are looking for easy answers and it's all gray. You just got to work at it.
There you go. Well, I am really looking forward to airing this conversation. So, Bob, by the way, heads up, I'm going to co-air this on both the Brian Nichols Show as well as CX Without the BS. I know. Well, we talked about like customer experience for half the show. So, no, that's a good thing. I like that, because people forget, like people in the world of politics and such, they also forget that your customer is like, in this case, your voter, right? And you have to understand who that customer is, who that voter is, and make sure that you're actually answering what they need. So, it goes into the customer experience. It goes into that customer journey. So yeah, I'm glad we talked about it because it all kind of, cool. It rhymes. It's same church, different pew. But Bob, thank you for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Folks, if you enjoyed the conversation, please do me a favor. Go ahead and give it a share when you do. Please go ahead and tag yours truly. You can find me at B Nichols Liberty on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. As for the show, you can find the Brian Nichols Show over on your favorite podcasting platforms and video platforms like YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and more. Just do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit that little notification bell. And by the way, every Monday, Thursday, and Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, we have a brand new show hitting your news feed, your podcast feed, your RSS feed, everywhere it hits. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you miss a brand new episode when they go live. Bob, any final words before we say goodbye today?
Go to retaildoc.com and buy my stuff.
There you go. Retaildoc.com. We'll include those links in the show notes. But with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Bob Phibbs. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.